It's Tiffany Avatar sweetening yet another podcast, and you are watching Three Count Podcast.
Do you wanna get live with me? Do you really wanna ride with me? I'm in the club, baby, grind on me. Do you wanna get live with me?
Welcome, everybody, to another great edition of the Three Count Podcast presents Now Entering, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And by now, with season 4, our 300 and something episode, I would just hope you say it with me. I am your Sherpa, because like your tribal chief, acknowledge me. But like every good Sherpa, you gotta have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficient. You can. That's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering. So who's entering the ring? You can find this person at GTS, Kaiju Pro, EBW, Titan, LTW, and Chosen. She is rough. She is tough. She takes no gruff. She is also the cotton candy princess. She is Tiffani Avatar.
Hello.
What's up?
Thanks for having me.
Hell yeah, I'm super hyped about this because you and I met at Kaiju, and we met at Grind as well.
Yes.
And we just sat back, we started chatting it up, and we became, I would say fast acquaintances, and then, we've kind of gotten to know each other and became more friends, and I'm like, yo, this is a person that like I legitimately could kick it with like pretty much everywhere. So I was like, yo, gotta bring on the podcast and have some great conversations.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I actually remember meeting you at Grind, and I was like, oh, okay, this person seems kind of like chaotic like me. This should be great.
100%. That's definitely like the thought process of like when even like in wrestling, I love just like being able to just kind of like just be sporadic wherever and then
Yes.
just quote random like 90s nostalgia like phrases at the most inappropriate times. I think it's great.
I appreciate anybody that can keep up with my massive ADHD conversations.
Yeah, it was funny because like I think we started off like talking about like just like it was a random conversation and we ended up like getting to the point of like running a tag team together and we got like,
Yeah.
how did we get here? But we never missed a beat. It was like transition. It was like subject transition, subject transition,
So
subject transition. Yeah. Everybody else was looking at us like, what? How did we? What? How are we here?
that's my
No.
favorite part is watching people go because they can't keep up. So it's like, well, they're doing it, so I guess I missed something.
Yeah. And we're just like, we're just a natural flow of a conversation and just never worried about anything. It's fun to do. It's fun to do those things. It's one of those things. So like, I don't know if you're familiar with a comedian named Daniel Tosh, but
I've heard of him.
so Daniel Tosh, he has his comedy special. It's on Comedy Central. If you guys haven't checked it out, go check it out. But one of the comedy specials that he did, he started off by talking about broad subjects, and then like kept making like move after move after move until like one person got it in the crowd, and it's so funny to watch because like it starts off like one of the jokes he starts off with was talking about uh like driving his car, right? His SUV. And he's like, my SUV doesn't run on corn, runs on gas. He's like, that was a dream and a dumb one. He's like, have you ever been to Nebraska? He's like, I'm looking for a tornado to take me anywhere. Yeah. He's like, and have you been to Nebraska? He's like, I've been to Nebraska. He's like, and I sell that same joke in Nebraska, but they're all too busy being fat, sucking off fat mayonnaise balls. While they're like, oh, waitress, give me another bucket. I think I felt my blood move. And I was like, this is crazy. And then like the crowd is laughing, and I'm like, well, first of all, I'm from Nebraska. I do not appreciate this comment. And two, like, I'm still laughing because I still find this hilarious. And so, yeah, Daniel Todd, like, but he does this all the time, and like the whole comedy special is based off of just taking broad subjects and then narrowing down to like to one person gets one joke. And I'm like, I appreciate this kind of humor. So like you and I being able to transition and just run our conversations was like just a similar concept. And I was like, yo, we can do this all day and this will be fun.
Literally all day. I remember there was one night I was hanging out with my best friend, and I think we covered like 24 topics in a span of like 10 minutes. And her poor husband is watching us talk like, what is wrong with you guys? Did you even finish one topic? I'm like, no.
And be like, do we
We'll
have
get
to?
back to it in 3 days. It's
Yeah,
fine.
it's fine. It's totally okay. I do that with Chaz all the time. Like he gets upset with me. So Chaz, like he's the other person that runs this podcast, right? He lives in Baltimore. And yeah, I'll just go on a tangent and I'll just start going from subject to subject to subject. And he waits till I get to the end of my rant and then he's like, yeah, I totally heard you. And he just like says the very last thing that I said just to make it sound like he was in a conversation. I'm like, cool. So you weren't paying attention. Like, that's fine.
My favorite part is like in order for me to like remember certain things, like I have to start from the very beginning of like where my brain decided this story starts. So it could literally be like 3 days before I actually get to the point of the story, but you're getting the whole narrative.
Yo, I think that's the best part about telling like great stories is that like you could do the Quentin Tarantino thing where you're just like, I start at the end and then go to the beginning, and then somewhere I'm like in the middle, and then I go back to the beginning and then finish through. Like some people who like one of my favorite movies that I like watching just randomly is Memento, and it's because like it's about this dude who has amnesia, but he has tattoos. He writes on ink all over himself. He tats himself like like clues. And so like one of the clues like don't trust John G. And at the beginning of the movie, he kills this dude named John G. And then at the then the next scene is the end of the movie. And then the movie plays like this all the way until you get to the actual end, and then the movie merges together, and you're like, "Oh, this makes sense now."
Oh
But
my,
it's so random. You're just following. You're like, "I have no idea what's happening," but I'm clearly intrigued in this.
I might need to see this.
It's definitely a strange movie, but I was like, I'm here for it. So yeah, I can tell you like it's randomness. It's randomness at its best.
You know what's so funny to me is like, so my brother recently started watching Bob Ross. Here we go. We're starting already. And my brain is so fast paced that I'm sitting there watching this kid. He's not actually a kid. He's like 20, but he's still a kid to me because he's my youngest brother. But I'm watching him watch Bob Ross, and he's so like intrigued in it, and he's relaxed, and I'm freaking out like, bro, I can't do this. Like, he's like, you just gotta have patience. No, there's no patience. Who has time to do this?
Listen, I don't care about his happy little accidents. They're just there, okay? I don't care about how he took a brush stroke and made it wrong and then turned it into a tree. I'm just trying. I just want to know the paints, and then I want to figure it out myself.
Literally, like I'm sitting there and he's drawing these lines, and I'm like, how is this gonna turn into a tree?
Yeah.
This kid's like, can you relax? We're only like 5 minutes into the no, there's no relaxing here. I don't understand.
I don't get it. Why is there a massive blob of white paint in a random area of this canvas?
Yes,
Just want to see the finished product.
literally. And then you sit there and you watch him like mix the paint together on his little paint board, and I'm like, this. I need to see what this. How did you get there? What is this turning into?
I love like it, but the thing is at the beginning of the show is so random too because he tells you like the paints that you're gonna use, and you're just like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. So what are we doing? And he doesn't tell you. It's like it doesn't tell you like, hey, we're gonna make a little mountain scene, or hey, we're gonna make little clouds in the sky. No, it's just all right. We're just gonna put a blob of paint right here.
Why?
What happened? Who hurt you?
And then, like, not even a quarter of the way through, he's got to stop and feed random animals. Where did you get a squirrel from, and why is it just chilling on your shoulder? I still don't have answers.
You know what? So it's funny because if you guys watching it, this is how conversation was at Grind as well. It's funny because like Bob Ross was actually 20 years United States Air Force. I was very excited to learn that information about him, and I didn't learn that information until I watched Epic Rap Battles of History, and I was like, I love this channel because it always teaches me something. But I love Bob Ross too because I do love watching Bob Ross's paints. Because sometimes like I do need to just chill, and I will watch Bob Ross like painting because I'm just like, yeah, this is what's necessary in life sometimes.
Maybe I'll try it again because I definitely like I know I need to learn patience. I am the most impatient person you will ever meet in your life. I don't. It's I just this doesn't stop going at all. Like even when I lay down to go to sleep, my brain is on 25 different subjects. I'm like, can you please shut up now? I'm exhausted.
Yo, do you ever get to that point where you're just like, I'm tired of hearing myself think. I need to just rest.
You have no idea. And it gets so bad where I'll go like 4 days of just feeling like that like someone will try to talk to me. I'll be like, no,
No,
I don't
you're
want. I don't want to people. I don't want to know that other people exist today. Please leave me alone.
100%. Like I totally understand. So no, because you know what? This date wise, someone will figure this out when it comes out. Recently though, I saw you with Alex Kane and MLW with the
Yeah.
Boomaya Nation. I was like, hey yo, shout outs. Like I see you out here, like doing your thing. I was
I'm
hyped.
that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed being at MLW, and I hope that the next time I'm there or sometime in 2024, I would like to make my wrestling debut there.
Hell yeah. Actually, it was so funny because like I saw the card and I saw Jay Bougie was there, obviously. Alec Price and BRG, Brian Ryan Gosling was there. So it was cool and Love Doug. So I saw all these dudes that I regularly see up in the Northeast in on MLW. And I'm like, oh, hey, shout out to all these guys doing their things. And then I see some of my friends from the DMV also making their moves up to MLW. And I'm like, yo, what is going on here? There's a lot of people I know that suddenly are on MLW, and I was like, I need to start making my way down to Philly.
Do it.
Hell yeah! Actually, it was funny because like I think the weekend that y'all were at MLW, I was actually in Philly for a different wrestling show,
Oh
and
wow.
I had driven down, wrestled the show, and then drove home. Like, so I didn't even hang out. I was like, I'm here till the end of the wrestling show, and then I'm gonna drive home. And yeah, it was a long trip, and I was like, I'm very grateful I did this. But yeah,
That week was insane for me. Like I live in Albany. So I drove from Albany to Philly for MLW. Left right after Alex Kane's match when we walked out to drive from Philly to Jersey to pick up my little kitty because he was at my sister's house, and then back to Albany to go to Connecticut for Kaiju literally the next day.
Oh wow.
I didn't get back to Albany until 4 a.m. and then woke up at 6:30 to head over to Kaiju.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Insane. But speaking of like kaiju and stuff like that, like one, I know this is a question you probably get a lot, but who is Tiffany Avatar?
Tiffany Avatar is the I say that I'm the cotton candy princess because it's not just a wrestling character for me. It's my lifestyle. Like my hair is these colors all the time. My eyebrows are these colors 90% of the time. Sometimes I go natural because I just don't have time.
Right.
But like it's a lifestyle. My everything matches my hair. I'm literally like my apartment matches, my car is blue. Like it's a lifestyle. But I'm also your number one Sour Patch Kid, so I can be really sweet, but don't disrespect me because then I'm really sour.
I get that. I understand that. That's the one thing though, is like I feel like a lot of people forget that like wrestling, like in wrestling, like your character can have two sides to it, right? Like you could be like a really awesome, cheerful baby face, or you could just be like that really like dark a-hole, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't know why I just censored myself in thinking of that because we can curse on this podcast and it really don't matter. But yeah, you can be like that deep, dark, demented kind of person. And it's a beautiful thing that you get to create like this whole entire world of your character and like build it like as massively as you can and as big as you can and put as many layers as you want into it, right? And then it's so much fun to, I don't want to say pretend because that's not the right word, but to be a different character. It's so much fun to do.
So I think with mine, it's kind of like yes and no. Like the Cotton Candy Princess and my whole wrestling persona is literally me just, oh cool, I can punch people while I do this. Okay. No. um it's just, it's literally like, and anybody that knows me that will see it, it's, I am a Sour Patch Kid. I can be really sweet one day, and then if I wake up and I'm not happy, well, then you got the sour side. But it's also like, I am overly dramatic. If you ask my best friend, she'll tell you on a scale of 1 out of 10, I'm at probably 1,000. It's me amplified, because obviously, like, I'm not shy about it. I have ADHD, and sometimes it's kind of like out of control. And my, like I said before, like my brain is just constantly going. But in wrestling, like I can take all of that, all those creative thoughts, and what do I want to do? And like, how can I take this and get all that energy out into wrestling?
See, and it's a thing that you have like a central focus point that you want to put all that energy into, because like some people don't ever find that central point and they're just always scatterbrained everywhere. And I feel like that's where I even excel like myself, right? Because like I get hyper focused on things, and it's not necessarily that I'm like, I probably do suffer from ADHD and just never been diagnosed, but I'm so hyper focused that I was like, all right, I want to make sure that this is good, this is good, this is good. But I'm like so locked into things that I forget that the outside world still kind of exists. So I'm like, I have to scale myself back sometimes and then be like, all right, like today, right? Like I had a whole, like all those who pay attention to the show know that like I'm a personal trainer. So I have a whole bunch of clients that I'm like always going through all their stuff and making sure that their programs are listed and ready to go at any time. Me, on the other hand, while I'm still doing all this stuff, I'm like, yo, I wonder what Red Dog would do if he had this situation happen right now. I'm like trying to put in like stuff. I'm like, like, flip to the other side. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. I'm getting paid to do this real quick. I got to do this job. Like, and it's the thing that you're like, you look at your character and you're like, because like me, like Red Dog is just me, just amped up, like
Yeah,
clearly. Everybody
literally.
can see it. Yeah. But it's one of those things that you people get related to you because they understand like you're just being genuinely you and you're just having fun, and they want to be involved with the fun as well.
Yeah,
And it's so much, it's so cool to do something like this and be a part of something like this, because then you realize like how much of an effect you have on other people, and then you're just having fun, just building this world and letting people come join your world, as crazy as it may look.
that's been one of the things that's like, it makes me so happy, because I remember being a kid and being like, God, I hate how chaotic my brain is. Like, I really, like, I hated it. Absolutely hated it. And then to join the wrestling world, and when I really put the whole cotton candy princess together, and, you know, I was at, the first time I did it, I was at Titan. And that was when I first started to announce myself, like, yeah, I'm the cotton candy princess. Like, we're going to do it. And to see how like open and receptive people were was like, it was it's crazy to me. It was crazy then, and it just keeps growing, and it's even crazier to me now. Like, I am so blessed and lucky to have the following that I do. I don't care about the size of it. It's the fact that people see me and see what I'm doing and see my personality, and they like it and they relate to it. Because I didn't really feel like, aside from like maybe 2 or 3 people, that I really related to anybody, especially growing up, especially in high school, and then trying to figure out life after high school. I didn't really feel like I related to anybody. So the fact that I'm able to give somebody, whether it's a kid, whether it's another, it's a teenager, whether it's another adult, just something to relate to, is fantastic to me.
It's one of those things where it's like we all feel like, because I know even like going through high school myself, right? Like I always just felt kind of like an outcast because I was like one of like the last people who still like enjoyed wrestling, like pro wrestling, and it was like really big into it. And I remember like just feeling like I just didn't belong in my school. And I was just like, bro, I just don't, you guys don't get it. And I was like, one day I'm going to be a pro wrestler. And everybody was like, yeah, we know, because, this is what you do, you little dork, blah, 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 blah. And when I finally started chasing after this and started doing it, people like, I remember people from my hometown, like their heads turned. Were like, what? Cliff's actually like doing that thing? Like, that's wild. I'm like, yeah, no, not really. If you guys know anything about me, like, for God's sakes, like in my class, my class voted me best folk storyteller, which I think it just meant best liar, just as nicely as they could say it. But
Yeah.
it definitely resonated with me because now like I tell stories in a ring and through a character that is me, but just a million more times outgoing than I'll ever be. So I definitely think about those things too. Like I understand like being on the outside looking in and you're just like, huh, all right. So that's cool. I love the fact that you're able to like find people that you can like relate with and then like Im- impose your energy into people and lift them up too.
That's literally like that is the number one thing that I want out of this business. Like getting to wrestle everywhere is cool, and the more places I go, it will continue to grow into like so much like more of an experience and an opportunity and just be the awesome incredible thing that it is. But I just want to spread positivity to people because I remember being that kid and like I don't know, it's just there was a while where I was just angry, especially in middle school, and I think it was just because I couldn't find like my way and where I fit in, not even just in school but just feeling like I didn't fit in like the universe. But
Right.
I remember like I'd go home and I'd sit down and I'd watch wrestling, and just for that 2 to 3 hours that I would watch it, it was like, wow, like this feels good to me. Like this feels like home. Like this is what I'm meant to do. Like I need to be there.
It is weird to have that feel out moment where you're like the world stops and you're like for a moment you're just like you're not even thinking about anything, like your mind is just clear because you're not even really thinking about anything. You're just like, I'm just entranced whatever's going on the screen right now. So whatever Stone Cold has to say or whatever John Cena is doing or you know
Yes.
whatever Ziggler is talking about or you have like so many things that you can kind of relate to, and it is definitely fun to watch something where you can just turn your brain off and just enjoy what's going on. So I understand that. It was funny because like my wife and I had this conversation where she was watching, I think it was like the Real Housewives of New Jersey, and I go, I get it. And she's like, "Well," I was like, "I get why you watch this show." And she's like, "Why?" I was like, "It's the same reason why I watch pro wrestling." I was like, "You just turn your brain off and you just watch what's happening." I was like, "There's 6 characters on this show, and those six characters are the same 6 characters that you could find on any wrestling show." And she's like, "What?" And then I explained all the different characters.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Oh my god, I am watching pro wrestling of like housewives."
I never got into Jersey, but I have seen almost every season of Atlanta.
Yeah, Atlanta, man, like whenever, like,
Atlanta's crazy.
yeah, they
Like
have it on. Nene was like the biggest like heel of that show till she left.
Mimi and Phaedra were the
Yeah,
biggest of Real Housewives of Atlanta.
yeah, there's no doubt. Like they're so the root. One's like manipulative, and then
Yeah.
the other one was just a straight mean, like just
Yeah.
mean. Like,
Like
see, this is what you're getting. But you're talking like an MJF type of like heelish, right? Before obviously before the baby face. And then the other one is like I don't even know, like a good heel, like a Bray Wyatt type, I guess, maybe. Like just the
see,
way that
I could see how Phaedra can kind of be like Bray Wyatt, but honestly, I think she's more CM Punk with the whole straight edge society.
yes, there you go. That's a great one. 100%. Yeah.
Like she was something else on there. Like I just I thinking like it's all just kind of like coming back to my brain, just watching the crazy things that she would do and say to people, and I still have no words.
Yeah, no. But you watch it and you're just like, man, like this really is pro wrestling. Like it's so weird because I mean, I guess like in the basic elements of like storytelling, like that's that's it, right? Like you have like your characters, and then obviously like you have your protagonist, your antagonist, right? But like in the world too, like there's so many different types of characters that you can have on. I know like people talk about with Dungeons and Dragons, there's like 9 different characters, right? Like obviously you have your good guys, your neutrals, and then you're like bad guys. But like in a world of wrestling, like it's really it's the same thing, but like it's so weird to see them all play out, and then you see them everywhere after
Yeah.
that.
Life never stops being baby faces and heels after you join pro wrestling.
No, they don't.
Like ever.
Oh,
I think
no.
it's funny though, because I get asked all the time, like, are you a heel or a baby face? And my answer is always, well, I'm a Sour Patch Kid.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you're doing. And not all
I
people understand it, and I get it. It's practically being a tweener, but at the same time, like I could go out there super smiley, everything's cool, and like you just have to say one thing, and now it's not so cool.
see for like Red Dog, he's a mercenary. He's a tweener. Like he's not the good guy. He's not the bad guy. He's just a guy at the end of the day needs to get money, right? And collect so that he could pay for plies and Crayolas because they don't pay for themselves. And it's so whether you're the good guy or the bad guy, you have to ask yourself who put the contract on you, really, because it's essentially like Heath Ledger's Joker. Like I'm just a
Yeah.
dog running after a tire. I would never know what to do if I caught it. Like it's one of those things where I'm like, I'm very proud to like create this world and like continue to build into it. And I think that this is where like you dive down further, right? Because then like somebody told me too, like you learn to wrestle when you learn to build the world. Like you learn to wrestle as your character once you build the world. And so I was thinking to myself, I always have to ask myself questions where I'd be like, if I was Red Dog, would I get the turkey club or the meatball marinara? And then I realized I would get neither. I would take 2 chocolate chip cookies and put some icing on it and then eat that.
I love that you build your own world like I do, because like I tell people like I live in Candyland, but I promise it's gonna sound crazy, but I promise it's not. Like I'm okay, but like in here, like I have built Candyland, and I can literally like, okay, what do I need to do? And let's envision it. If this is a situation in my Candyland, how would the Cotton Candy Princess react?
Yeah. It's fun because I always tell like Chaz laughs at me all the time because I'm like, yo. So actually we'll talk about it. Like Chaz laughs at me all the time because the way I just like develop things and put them together and then insert myself into random stuff that I don't even really belong in. So like there's kind of like they're building up on this feud that's going on, and I kind of was like, I'm like, well, I'm siding with my boys because those are my friends and those are the guys who watch my back whenever I need them to. So I'm gonna go that way. And so the one guy that was talking trash, I just hit him up and I DM'd or I quote tweeted him, and I was like, hey, is this what you call checking in? And it was just like me beating up one of his friends, and then he said something. He goes, Philly's not gonna be a comfortable place for you. And I was like, well, I've been to dangerous places too. And I put up a picture of Red Dog at Abraham Lincoln's booth the night he got assassinated. And I was like, he's been here and here and here and here, just like posting up random pictures of random places. I just like over the last year, I started posting up that Red Dog was time traveling. I have no idea why. It was just cool. And so like I started taking those pictures and putting him up in different places on Twitter. Like, yeah, Red Dog's been here. He's been, he was in the boat with George Washington when we were sailing across the Delaware. He's been in the Revolutionary War. He was on the Battle of Bunker Hill. Like he's been here. He's been here. He was on the moon. Like so I think it's so fun. But I'm like, yo, this, and I got a message back. I was like, I need a book of these right now.
You need to make those kids books and all the places Red Dog has been.
It's like, where's Waldo? But you just gotta find Red Dog.
Find the Red Dog.
Yeah, he's somewhere in there. People are looking for like a Red Dog. They're not looking for me.
For real though, I could never find Waldo in those books. I would get so mad. Like you're all of like the same color at me. There's all these tiny people, and I have ADHD, and I have a really bad tendency to miss the obvious. You can't do that. Okay, that's not fair.
I hated doing the I Spy games. Like remember the I Spy books? Like they're like there's 6 trumpets in this thing, and you're like, why are there's 14 Christmas trees? and I can't
Yeah,
find 6
for
trumpets.
real. Who just leaves 8 magnifying glasses all over the place?
Yeah, hate it. The only thing I could handle was like, where in the world is Carmen San Diego? Because I'd have to follow the clues. But like, yeah,
Oh my gosh. So I used to have like a computer game of that when I was a kid. And I don't even like, I never like saw the show or anything like that. I just played this computer game with my sister and I was obsessed. And I still can't tell you anything about it to this day.
I just remember like that show when it was like on PBS. It was like, all right, gum shoes. I was like, yes, let's go.
Oh my God.
Nostalgia. We're bringing it back. Somebody out there is like, oh my God, this episode's the greatest because they're talking about Carmen San Diego. Again, we go to broad subjects and then we just go down to one
Yeah.
subject where someone randomly gets it.
There was another game me and my sister used to play on the computer, and I can't remember for the life of me anything about this game other than there was a mini game involved, and I think a hippo was involved, and the narrator would always freeze saying lemon. So it would just condescendingly say lemon at us for like 10 minutes straight until we shut off the computer. And I still can't remember anything else about that. But like, if anybody happens to know where this is from,
Commented.
please let me know.
Alright, so
I'll
we do
be
got
somewhere and I'll just hear lemon in my head. And I'm like, no, like, where did you come from?
that reminds me of like the whoopsie guy from Mortal Kombat. He's popped out randomly in the pit, and you're like, whoopsie. You're like, what? Why are you here? Why didn't you show up?
Like, I haven't even touched a computer game like that since like 2007. Okay, where are you coming from?
Yo, all right. So, listen, I know like you've been traveling, you've been around for a while in this sport. I'm sure you have one of these things, and I kind of want to hear what is the worst bump you've taken.
So one day there was a match that I should not have done. Okay. I understand this is entirely on me, but I had popped out 2 discs in my spine. So I should not have been wrestling, but I honestly had never like done anything remotely close to that before, and I was still able to like move and run and everything. It just kind of hurt. So I was like, yeah, I'll take this match that happens to be a hardcore match. Just, don't do spine things. And then I got dropped on the side of the apron directly on my spine, and then got hit with 2 kendo sticks in the same spot.
Ow.
I didn't do anything for 3 months afterwards.
Yeah, I could imagine. that was a bit painful.
that backdrop onto the side of the ring, like right on the disc, was the worst thing I'll ever do. No, thank you. Don't be stupid like me, guys.
Yeah, so that was like a thing too. Like if you got previously injured, ayo, take the time to heal. Like relax, take the time to heal, take it slow, and don't rush into things. And it'll get better. Like it will get better.
I gave it like 2 weeks and could move. So I really was like, I'm so stubborn. I think I'll be fine. Like I don't want to take any more time away. And yeah, that did not go the way that my dumb brain thought it would go.
Yo. No, I can imagine that would be pretty painful. And you said 3 months you were out?
I took 3 months off from that because that was such a painful experience that I really wanted to make sure that I was not going to have to go through something like that again. And then, history repeats itself. So my last back injury, I actually did wrestle throughout the whole healing process and completely ignored the fact that I had already been traumatized by something similar.
Are you good now? Like, have you?
Oh yeah, I'm good now. Now honestly, I have more mobility in my back than I did before this last one. So.
Okay. I mean, that works out. That's great. So, what's one of the hardest lessons you've had to learn being in this business?
Honestly, being patient.
I can see that.
I'm really, really adaptable, except when it comes to being patient, especially when I see something in my head and I see, like, if we do things this way, like I'm telling you it would be great, and I can see it, and everyone's like, yeah, but we should probably do ABC first. And I'm like, no, just like stop, listen to me. I promise it's gonna work. And I'm having to learn more and more, like, not everything can happen on the chaotic timeline that I have, that I see things happen. Unfortunately, I have to learn to be patient and wait for the right time for not just me, but everybody involved.
It's interesting because like right now, like I'm going through this book called Be Like Water, which is the teachings of Bruce Lee as told by Shannon Lee, his daughter. And in the very first chapter, it talks about how Bruce was like very impatient and like just wanted to push through things, and his uh Ip Man, his sensei, right, told him that he needed to go sit on, just relax. He's like, just go relax. Don't do anything. Just relax. And it bothered him so much because, like, he's like, there's no lesson to learn here. So he was just trying to be defiant. So finally, he decided to go out on a rowboat and he got in the middle of the sea and just try to understand what his sensei was trying to talk to him about, right? And he was getting so frustrated trying to figure out the lesson that he punched the water. And when he punched the water, he realized that something wasn't right, right? It was that this thing that was so soft yet was just flowing all around him, and he couldn't do anything about it. Like he kept punching the water and it just wasn't working out. And then he realized at that moment that that was it. Like that was the lesson. Like it was supposed to be patient, because once you learn patience, you learn how to move through life. And I
Yes.
think that's important. It's like sometimes like you do have to slow down to speed up, right? And I understand where you're coming from too, because sometimes I'm like, yo, I'm gonna get involved in this story. It's my time now too. And I'm like, wait, what do you want from me? And
Yeah.
that's where like, you learn like a lot, because it's like you learn about humility, and then you learn about like the understanding of like how things are done in this business. But then you also learn more about yourself. You're like, all right, well, if I take my time, I slow down and I connect the dots, I can see the bigger picture that's being told, even though your world has like all of this happening. Once you learn like the trail of it, you're like, oh, I figured out how I can make this go from here to here just by following these like these small little steps.
I go through it a lot in training too, because there's times where they're like, all right, you're going to try it 3 times and then you move on. And I'm like, well, no, because sometimes it takes me more than 3 tries to do it. I'm going to keep going until I get it, because I need to get it today. Like, we're doing it today. I need to get it today. And he's like, nope, you got 3 shots. That's it. Got to wait till next time. And I would get so frustrated if I didn't get it the first time. I'm like, great, I can already see how this is going. I'm going to have to wait until the next time I train to get this down correctly. And there was one day I remember I was doing handstands, and the first 2 times I didn't get it. The third time I did get it, but I couldn't hold it as long as I wanted to. And most people would be like, okay, cool, I got it. Now we work on the next step. No, myself, I got mad for the entire night, because I was like, no, I should have been able to do this exactly how I pictured it in my head. And because I couldn't do it, like, I'm mad now.
I understand that. I understand that a lot. I remember my trainer, when I was in Maryland, like used to laugh at me all the time, because I was like, one time I was learning how to take a power slam, and like Randy Orton's power slam, and I didn't realize that you were supposed to jump. So I just ran into it, and my friend, like, he did it perfectly, and I scorpioned out. And so everybody was like, "Oh my god, are you okay?" I was like, "I should have jumped, huh?" And he was like, "Yeah, we should jump." I was like, "All right, bet." And then the next time, like, I did it, and we did it again, and we got it right. And I was like, "All right, bet, figure that out." But my trainer was like, "Hey, yo, next time, don't run into anything. Just slow down, think about what happened, and then go into it." And I was like, "Cool, we're gonna do it again." I just ran and did it again. And he was like, "Oh my god." He's like, "Stop it. Just slow down."
There was when I was like learning flip bumps, I was terrified like the first couple of times that we were doing it, because that I was not an athletic kid. Like, this is the first time that I'm actually like doing something like this. Once I got over that fear and like really could like figure out like, okay, this is exactly what I need to do and how to do it. If I didn't hit it perfectly every time, I would just keep going.
Mm.
To the point where there was one practice where I just flip bumped by myself for a half hour straight.
I understand that. I understand a lot. I understand that frustration too, because you're like you see it in your, like you said, you see it and you're like, I just want to. I see how this is supposed to be done in my mind, and I know I can do this, and I'm gonna keep doing it until I get it. And if I
Yeah,
don't get it, I'm just gonna be pissed. I'm gonna think about how I should have got this.
like I'll literally go to bed thinking about, how do I do this correctly? How do I fix this? Like, that's the thing. Like, I say my brain is chaotic because like I could have a good match, I could have a bad match, I could have a great match, I could have a terrible match. I'm still going to hyper focus on, okay, how do I do it better? And I'll dissect everything. Even if it's a great match, I could dissect it out to the point where I think it's not a good match at all.
Mm.
Like, to that point at Kaiju, I had a fantastic match. I had a really good match. But I watched it 100 times in a row the next day and the day after. And I'm like, oh, this could have been better. I could have done this better. I could have done this better. I could have done this better. Maybe I should have done this instead. You know? And it's chaotic because I should just slow it down and understand there's a lot of good things that happen too. Like, stop focusing on how to do it better all of the time, this excessively, and just be patient and understand that every day you're doing better and you're learning something new.
Yeah, it was something I picked up. I forgot where I found it or where I got it from, but I think it was they were talking about the NFL or they were talking about football, and they were talking about kids that like get into football and to stop comparing yourself to other players, right? Because sometimes you may be like you're a high school kid and like everybody's been playing since like they're 6, 7, 8 years old, right? But you only need to focus on being 1% better than the day before. And I think that's so important because it's like, especially in pro wrestling, like, sure, you may not be able to get in the ring all the time and you may not be able to bump or you may not be able to roll or whatever, right? But you can still work on other stuff that matters, right? Like building your character or watching matches and like understanding the psychology behind it, right? And I think I'm at that point right now where like I still want to get in the ring, I still want to train. I love training. It's fun. Actually I should have been there. Sorry, I should have been there tonight, but this is more important right now. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like I go back and I watch matches and I break them down and then I look at them and I try to establish more knowledge into it that I can get out of it and squeeze. And then I go back to, all right, cool. How do I act? How do I incorporate this into my character, or how do I want to do this? And then I go to the wrestling ring and I practice that, right? Because I'm like, yo, I see this working in myself. And then some people will be like, it doesn't work. I'm like, it'll work
Yeah.
somehow. I'm going to unlock it my way.
Yes, literally. I do the same thing. And it's just crazy because like even from March to now, like I see the amount of growth and progression that I've had in wrestling, and it while it still blows my mind, I'm still like, okay, there should be more. Like, I should be progressing more. And I think I feel this way because I do compare, like, sometimes I forget that there's a big gap in me wrestling because I did have a couple of injuries. I kind of stopped wrestling for a little bit when my mom passed, so I don't have all of the experience that I would have liked to have at this point. But I think for what I do have, I'm doing pretty fantastic.
Yeah. So even for me, like I have to reel myself back into because I understand where you're at. Because like for me, like I started when I was 34, turning 35, and there's people who are literally ending their careers when they're 34, 35, like retiring. So I'm like, oh, yeah, I shouldn't be so hard on myself. I should really like just remember to enjoy what I'm doing while I'm here. And I think that's what drives me more because it's like I see everything that everyone else is doing and I see how they're connecting and I want to connect the same way or maybe my way with fans. And so like I can transition the whole conversation to, you know, market myself towards kids or just like towards adults who are like way too drunk to know that I'm actually out there, you know, beating up another person. They just cheer for me randomly. Like it's great. But it's one of those things where it's like you have to like you have to slow down and look at yourself sometimes and like you just said, right? Understand the wins that you have going on.
Absolutely. I completely get that too.
So let's jump into my favorite section of the 3 Count podcast. That is the 3 Count podcast, 10 count questions. And Miss Avatar, this is how it works. I'm going to fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast. And whatever your answer is, that's your answer. This is going to be great. Can't wait.
Okay.
So we're going to put on the imaginary timer for added pressure. Bing! And in the words of Mike Goldberg, here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
Raw.
Favorite movie?
Jurassic Park.
Let's go. Marvel or DC?
DC.
Favorite cartoon?
SpongeBob.
Apple or Android?
Apple.
Favorite actor/actress?
Joaquin Phoenix.
Pepsi or Coke?
Neither.
Favorite podcast?
Don't have one.
That's okay. We'll take second place to that. Nominate one person you want to see on this podcast.
Ooh, Zeta Steel.
Yeah. Last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person who comes on the show. Favorite curse word?
Don't have one.
You don't have a favorite curse? That's awesome.
I don't curse. And if it does happen, it's because there's a lot of emotion and it happens to just come out, but I don't curse in like my everyday conversation.
I wish I had that filter. I curse all the time. No cares about it either. I'll be in the middle of doing something and I just will blur it out. I'll be like, fuck it. I'm out. All right. Well, those are all my questions that I do have. So the last thing I need from you is to let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
Ooh, okay. So you guys can find me on YouTube, Tiffani Avatar, on Instagram, Tiffani Avatar. On Facebook, you can find me at Tiffani Avatar. X, which is Twitter. X is dumb. I'm sorry. It's Twitter. You can also find me at Tiffani Avatar. And then make sure you check out my pro wrestling tee store, which is still Tiffani Avatar, and Tee Public, which is also Tiffani Avatar.
Bad. There you go. So she gave you all her handles. She told you where you could find her, and she even gave you the links to her merch. So you guys know what it means. Like every great part of a wrestling match, we got to take this home because this is the 3 Count podcast that's now entering, and now I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And like every good Sherpa, which I like to think I am, it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. So who's entering the ring? The cotton candy princess herself, right there, Tiffani Avatar. And you guys know what to do. Tune into the next episode and be there, or you're legitimately just following us on all of our social media platforms, which you can see right up above. You're subscribed to our YouTube channel. You're following us on Spotify. You're listening to us on Amazon Music. You're even just checking us out on iHeartRadio, or however that little jingle thing goes, right? You're telling your friends about us. You're telling your enemies about us. You're telling your pets about us. You're telling your family about us. You're even telling your enemies about us, because we love haters too. And then, you're doing all that stuff, or you're buying our merch, or you're really just kind of waiting for this episode to end. You're waiting for the outro, and then you're choosing another episode to listen to. Kawaii. What's going on? It is Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And what we need from you guys is to kind of show some support, right? We want you guys to go to our YouTube channel at the 3 Count Podcast, go on to our Twitch channel, 3 Count Pod, or even our Facebook page, 3 Count Podcast, and just give us a like, follow, subscribe, even give us a comment, right? Do all that cool stuff. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your enemies, right? Or you can even come talk to us and just chat us up, right? Find us on Twitter at 3Count_pod. Find us on IG and on TikTok at 3 Count Pod. Go ahead and leave us those comments. We want to hear from all of you guys. We're going to keep putting on videos and stuff like that. We want to keep making this content better, so we want your guys' support. Also, if you guys want to, go support us at prowrestlingtees.com/the 3 Count Podcast, or even find us on foryourwear.com. Give us the support. Show us your guys' love, because we want to give it right back to y'all. So, in the meantime, between time, love y'all.